Hi, I'm Robert Tabbitt. Thanks for taking some time to allow me to introduce you to BNL's Cyclops Workflow Automation Tool. In this introduction, I'm going to cover 3 topics. The first topic will be an introduction to Cyclops, going over its features at a high level. The second topic I want to discuss is the component architecture of Cyclops, so I can describe how the different components work together to solve some of the workload automation problems that you might have. And the last thing on the agenda is a demo. The demo is based on a project that we're currently working on with an NBA franchise. So stay tuned, you won't want to miss it. The first question I want to answer is, what is Cyclops? Just to restate, Cyclops is a workload automation tool, which allows you to create multi-step jobs, with each one of those steps executing a program that lives somewhere in your environment, whether it's a SAS program, a Java program, or a Node program, etc. Cyclops coordinates all of these steps that make up your batch job and make sure they run successfully and on the schedule that you define. If Cyclops doesn't support a program that you have in your environment, it's built to be easily extensible so you can add new program types as needed. Cyclops provides robust access to the program log files included in your job. It allows you to work with your log files without having to log in to any external system. So you don't have to log into your SAS server, a Linux environment, or a Windows server just to review the logs of your programs. All of the logs are gathered by Cyclops and made available through its web interface. We'll take a closer look at this feature when we go through the demo. You need to know what is going on with your job, so Cyclops generates real-time job notifications to let you know when your job completes, when it fails, or just needs your attention. Cyclops is going to keep you informed. And finally, all of the Cyclops features are delivered through an intuitive, elegant interface that works on any device, whether it's a browser, tablet, or a phone. The next thing I want to discuss is the Cyclops component architecture, to give you an overview of the main components that make up the Cyclops application. If I go ahead and start on the left-hand side, you can see the users are going to be accessing Cyclops through its web interface. The web interface is where you're defining all of your jobs. You're telling Cyclops about the different programs on your system, where the programs are located, what parameters the programs need, and then using that information to create a job. Your job may execute multiple programs and run on a schedule, and all of the metadata that makes up your job is going to be stored in the Cyclops database. Just above the Cyclops server, you have an SMTP server. And that's just an email server that's going to send out the real-time job notifications. In most cases, organizations already have an SMTP server, which Cyclops is just going to be reusing. The same situation exists for an LDAP or an Active Directory server, which Cyclops uses for authentication. All the way over on the right, we have agents. An agent is a small Java program that needs to be installed on each one of the servers where you're going to be running the programs that are included in your jobs. For example, if you have a SAS program that you want to include in a job, then you're going to install an agent on your SAS server. If you have a Linux server and you have some Java programs that you want to run on that server, you'll need to install an agent there as well. It's the agent's responsibility to run programs with specific parameters when told by the Cyclops server. The whole execution of a job starts when the Cyclops server sends a job packet to the active in-queue messaging system. The agents then work together to make sure the job gets completed by running the steps in the order configured in the job and sending notification updates and program log entries back to the Cyclops server so they're available to the user. The overall architecture of Cyclops is really not that complex. Before we get into the demo, let me give you the game plan and go over the scenario that we're going to be running through. Again, we're currently working with an NBA franchise to develop a player analytics and scouting system. We've been working with them for several years now, and an important component of their system is an ETL process, which is used to gather all of the player statistics from the previous night's game, ingest that data into the system, and then run analytics and ultimately make all of that information available to their scouts and coaches the next morning. This is a simplified version of their ETL process that we're going to demo in Cyclops. In the first step of the process, we're going to load the player game data from the previous night's NBA games, international games, college games, and NBA minor league games. All of that information is going to be gathered from different sources and added to our staging environment. In the second step, a SAS program takes that data from staging, prepares the data and combines it with existing data to get it ready for the analytics processes. And in the final step, a SAS analytics program is going to take that prepared data, run analytics, and then update the production system with the new analytics data so it's available to the scouts and the coaches the next day. Cyclops is used to coordinate these steps, schedule their execution, and notify key personnel of the status of the job as it runs to completion each night. It's game time, so let's get into the demo. The first thing I'm going to do is log in, and that takes me to the dashboard. The Cyclops Dashboard contains 3 charts that give you some information about the state of your Cyclops system. I'm going to briefly discuss each chart. The first chart shows execution over time. This chart displays the number of jobs executed each day with their respective job status. When I hover over a bar in the chart, I get some detailed information about that day. I can see on February 28th I have 19 completed jobs and no stopped, failed, or other jobs. This is a demo system and all of our jobs look like they're working pretty well. I see all green, which means the jobs have completed successfully. What you don't want to see is a bunch of red, which indicates your jobs are failing. The next chart in the dashboard is called Daily Executions. This chart shows in real time what's going on with the actual jobs in the system. If I hover over a bar in the chart, for example from 410 to 420, I can see I have 1 job running. And then right below that I have these tally marks that indicate the actual jobs that are running. And if I hover over a tally mark, I can see this simple job completed in 10 minutes and it ran from 4:01 to 4:11. Another interesting thing I can do is use the timeline arrows to go back in time and see the jobs that were running earlier in the day, or if I just keep going back, I can see the jobs that are running, in this case on March 2nd, March 1st, and I can go back and see in real time what's happening with my jobs. The last chart shows the status of the agents that have been configured in the Cyclops system. On this installation, we have 2 active agents that are currently online. One is installed on a Windows machine and the other is installed on a Linux box. Having your agents up and running is important because they are responsible for running the programs that make up your jobs. That's a quick overview of the Cyclops dashboard, which again just gives you a quick status of what's going on with your system. We'll take a look at the dashboard again after we create and run a job later on in the demo. Now let's take a look at the programs that have been configured on the Cyclops system and get into our actual demo scenario where we're going to create and run the NBA ETL job. This is the program library that we built so far for the Cyclops instance, and it contains all of the metadata that Cyclops needs to run each one of the listed programs. We're only interested in the NBA program, so let me go ahead and do a filter and we can see just the 3 programs that we're going to use. The 3 programs are the NBA Load Nightly Updates. It's a Java program that loads all of the updated statistics that get generated from the previous night's games. Then we have 2 SAS programs, one that extracts game data and one that runs the analytics and makes the results available to the production system. I'll go ahead and drill down into the Java program to take a look at what Cyclops needs to know about a program in order to execute it. This is the metadata required to run the Load Nightly Updates program. It has a name, a program type, which is Java, and the endpoint or the agent, which is where the program is going to be executed. If I go into groups, you can see we specified NBA team as the group. So this locks down access to this program to only Cyclops users that have been added to this NBA team. You can see there's another group in this system called Cyclops_user. That's the default group that everyone is a member of in a Cyclops system. If I wanted to, I could select that Cyclops user group and give access to everyone that can log into this Cyclops system to this program. But since this is an NBA program, I'm not going to do that. We also need to tell Cyclops information about our Java program. The jar, where the jar is located on the server, and also what JDK to use to execute this program on the server. That's just some basic information that allows Cyclops to run the program. Now that we've taken a look at the programs, let's go create our ETL job. Right now we have 3 sample jobs. We're going to go ahead and create a new one, and let's call it NBA ETL Test 3. I'll give it my email address so I can get some notifications from Cyclops when it is running this job. and I will only allow users that are in the MBA team group access to this program. And I'll make this restartable. This just means that if a step in this job fails, I can go and fix whatever's making that step fail and then restart the job at that failed step. And now that we have some basic information, we just need to go ahead and add the steps. If I click here, I'll be able to add a step from our program library. And the first step will be MBA load nightly updates. And we'll just add that step. And then we'll just go ahead and load the other two steps as well. Process player data. This is the data prep step. And then finally, the analytics step, which is going to run the actual analytics and add it to the production system. So that's how easy it is to add the steps to your job. So now we have a job that has 3 steps, and I want to go ahead and create some schedules because I want to run this every night. And I'm going to go ahead and create 2 different types of schedules to just give you an idea of the different types of schedules that are available in Cyclops. The first schedule I'm going to create, this is going to be nightly at 2 a.m. So just like the name says, we're going to run this schedule every night at 2 o'clock in the morning. And this will be a daily schedule. We'll start this, today's the 5th, I'll start this tomorrow. And we'll run it at, let's go ahead, at 2 a.m. And we won't specify an end date, so it will just run forever. And at the bottom, we get some next execution. It shows the next 6 executions, and it looks correct. We're going to run on the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th at 10 a.m. So go ahead and add this schedule. And let's just add another schedule, a weekly schedule, just show you a different type of schedule. And this one we'll execute this one Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 a.m. Make this weekly. And again, we'll start this on Wednesday. 12 a.m.'s right. Execute every week. And we'll select the days we want to execute during that week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we can take a look at our next executions to make sure that they look correct, and they do, and we'll go ahead and add this schedule as well. So now we have all of our information for our NBA ETL job. We have the 3 steps, we have the schedules, and I can go ahead and save this job. So we have a couple choices. We can wait until later on tonight and watch the job run as scheduled, or I can just run it now. And that's what I'm going to do, so we can go ahead and monitor the job as it executes. So I click Run Now, and I go into the View Execution, and that shows the job executing. As you can see, the first step completed very quickly. This is a sample job. It's not really doing too much work. And I'll just go ahead and let step 2 complete, and then we can go in and inspect step 3. So you can see we have 4 pages of log. As this step is executing, logs are being sent back. Now we have 7 pages. It's getting closer and closer to this step being finished. We're up to 11 pages of logs now, and I think this has 14 pages of logs. Once we get there, we should be complete with this step. So we have 14 pages of logs, 25 lines each. And I'm just going to go and show you a few different things that you can do with the logs. If I go ahead and did a filter for, let's say, this is a SAS program, so I know SAS root is in this log file somewhere, and it's in a bunch of different places, these different lines. If I go ahead and I'm interested in sort of the log around line 37, I can click on line 37, and it takes me to that page where that filter is located. So there's some different things that you can do with the log inside of the Cyclops interface. If you want to bring the log onto your own system and work with it in your own text editor, you can do that as well just by clicking on the download log. And that will download an actual text file that you can open up in any system that you want. So that's the step execution. Let's get back to the execution details. Now that we're back at the step execution details, we can see all 3 steps have completed, and that means the job is completed as well. And I should have an email waiting in my inbox. So let's take a look. There it is. So I have an email. If I click on it, I can see Cyclops execution details. I can see that it's completed, and I get some pretty simple information about each step that made up this batch job. What's nice about this is I also have a link at the bottom where I can click on it and I can go right into the execution details for that job I got in email. Typically what happens, in not only this MBA franchise scenario, but in most cases where we have Cyclops installed, is there's an ETL or some overnight job that gets executed, and the user responsible for that job will get an email in the morning that shows what happened overnight, whether it was successful or not. And what they'll be able to do is click on that link and go directly into the execution details. And if there's a failure, they'll be able to see what's going on with the failure and take appropriate action. Another nice feature of Cyclops is that all of the execution details of all the jobs and their accompanying logs are stored in the Cyclops system. For example, if I click here and go back to my executions, I can see that Cyclops has all of the executions. Now we can see our MBA ETL test that completed just recently, but if I wanted to go back even all the way to November 2017 and see what was going on in the beginning of that month, I can narrow down my filter here, and you can see I'm looking at the beginning of November 2017 and all the executions that are available. And again, I can go in and click on one of the executions and inspect any of the steps, and since Cyclops is maintaining all of that history, I can easily take a look at a log file. Because it's not on another system, it's not on the Linux or the Unix system that may be purged occasionally every 6 months, every year, or even every week or two, depending on the disk requirements for that system, where I could possibly lose a log. All of the log files are centrally located in the Cyclops system, which makes them available to me. Finally, if I go back to the dashboard, I can see on my daily executions that my MBA ETL Test 3 job ran. It's green. It completed in 1 minute and 37 seconds. And I can click on the tally mark right from the dashboard, and it takes me to the execution of the job we just took a look at. So that's pretty much it for the MBA scenario and the quick demo of Cyclops. Before we wrap up, I just want to leave you with this. Cyclops can help you manage your batch jobs, whether you're running an ETL process as part of a player analytics system, processing surveys at the U.S. Census Bureau, or you're running nightly analytics process as part of a healthcare system. The industry doesn't matter. What's important is that you have a need to easily schedule and monitor jobs that are critical to the success of your organization. We've built Cyclops to help you with this problem. Thanks for taking some time to view this demo, and please contact me directly for any Cyclops related questions.